Welcome back to Winter Super League. This is Kai Budde with Brian Kelly, straight from our exciting Gush mirror match.
Hello.
We already talked about it in the downtime between the matches, and yeah, we thought it was pretty much a coin flip match, really. I mean, I'm playing a different color, but in the end, the important cards in both decks are the same. So it really comes down to one guy getting a better draw, I think.
I could have conceded as soon as the mentor hit the table turn one, and I also could have conceded game one when you played Gush. But I thought that the audience deserved a little bit better than me just throwing in the towel. Because really, in these games, when you're on one land and your opponent plays Gush, you might as well, for all intents and purposes, just throw in the towel. But I thought that would be bad television.
I mean, your deck has a better chance to come back than mine, at least, because you have Lotus Yakma as well, so you can maybe pull something out. But yeah, in general, the problem is with these decks, they don't really have permanent removal. So if someone resolves something, especially one of the token generators, you're usually so far ahead. I mean, that's why Eric scooped against you last week when you just had turn one Pyromancer cantrip. You just can't come back from this, really. Like, if you don't do the same on your turn, and he knew that he wasn't doing the same on his turn, you're just so far behind.
I would have liked to have gotten more value from my Yawgmoth's Will, but I felt very pressured with with four monks there. I thought I had to try to stem the bleeding.
I mean, also you didn't have anything, right? Like it was unlikely that the Yawgmoth's Will was getting that much better a turn later. I mean, you didn't have.
I mean, it would have been better because I would have been able to play the Demonic Tutor. I might have tried to chain it into a Time Walk, which would have been good. And I had Jace the Mind Sculptor in my hand, so I could at least start bouncing tokens. But it was an emergency Yawgmoth's Will. You know, when there are four monks and your opponent has a lot of mana in play, anything off the top is just so live. Preordain, Gush, this, that, and you're just dead. So I think that was still the right call, that I had to do something to stem the bleeding rather than... You can't just pass the turn with four monks on the table, because that's usually very close to lethal.
So, but now let's just go to the next match, I guess. I mean, we just had two Gush mirror match. I mean, essentially, the four decks that played so far are pretty much the same, right?
Yeah. I think we only had one. We were the first.
Right. Oh yeah, there's a couple of them later on, okay. But either way, the next match is the only one today that doesn't include at least one deck playing for Gush. And it's Randy with his Dredge deck against David with Workshops.
And we're here to present it for you. So we're the entertainment, since there will be no gushing.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always stuck with this Workshop deck, so I mean, I'm getting a feeling for this stuff. But I think it was somewhat obvious that Randy would be playing Dredge, because it really fit very well to his three opponents. So David is pretty well prepared, I think. He's got 4 Grafdigger's Cages and 3 Tormod Script. What do you like in this match? I'm sure game 1 has to be hugely in favor for Randy, right?
Well, I would say that Randy definitely metagamed very well for this trimester, because he knew that Ochoa is usually on something board state oriented, whether that's Eldrazi or Shops. Although he dabbles in Storm, I understand he's really good at Storm. And then he knew that Shuhei, that there was a 99.978 chance that he would be on Oath of Druids, and it turned out he was on Oath of Druids, and so he played the Dredge with Leyline of the Void, which is actually a real headache for Salvager's Oath, a real headache. Because you get to run only 5 Dredge Hate in that deck, because your RX Salvagers can bring back the Dredge Hate. So you can say, well, I have 1 Tormod crit, but I also have this Ariok who's going to bring it back all the time. So you almost have like infinite Tormod's crypts. It was a good meta call. In this matchup, it seems like David has a lot of stuff for the Dredge match.
But that's only after sideboard, right? Like game 1, Randy should be winning, I think.
Anything can happen.
Anything can happen.
Yeah,
that's true.
I agree that he's favored. That Dredge should be favored game 1. But you never know. You can multiple Oblivion. Nothing is certain, except for death and taxes. And oops, wrong format. That's Legacy.
I mean, Paul pretty much played Death and Taxes in the playing tournament, right?
I guess there might be aficionados of Death and Taxes that would say, "Oh, but he had this card and that card, and that qualifies it as a different archetype." He played what we in Vintage call white trash. That's the politically incorrect term, but that is what the nickname for that deck is. It was just known as that, and it's not supposed to be a pejorative term. It's all the cards in the deck are white. It's not a racially charged term.
All right, let's see what those two can come up with then.
All right. So, do we know who won the die roll?
I mean, Randy will have to ship his hands, obviously. And he will have to ship it again. I assume David is keeping this. I mean, how does Trinity even interact with Dredge? It doesn't, right? It doesn't do anything.
No, it's great because Dredge clutters up the board by chaining Cabal Therapies into a Dread return. And if they can't ever cast Cabal Therapy, it can be very difficult for them to take the initiative in creating a disgustingly zombie-populated battlefield.
So Trinisphere does affect flashback?
Yes.
Oh,
Trinisphere affects flashback.
Yeah. So then that's probably a really good hand for him, right?
It's a great hand for him. It's one of the strongest things you can do game one against Dredge.
And he's got a Wasteland for the Bazaar and some treasure with like 2 random dogs.
And then he has his muscle there. He's got the Revoker, which people use. There's almost nothing to name with Revoker, but Dredge experts, shop experts who play against Dredge generally will name Fate Stitcher just because it's an activated ability and you actually can turn it off. But it's not a strong card. However, the fact that you have an attacker when you're going to slow Randy down that much is pretty good.
Yeah, I mean he knows the deck list, so he probably knows that there's nothing to name, I guess. But yeah, like you need something to you need to start attacking, otherwise.
Exactly. So he has everything he needs right now for a game one upset against Dredge, which
yeah, I think you go with that first, right?
Just absolutely, yeah.
Prevent any shenanigans happening. I mean, at the end of the day, David is only attacking for 2. He's not winning by racing, so might as well get the annoying cards down first.
Well, he can probably make a hanger back at 3 by the time it comes down. I think what he'll do is play Wasteland and then Revoker. I mean, the hanger back will be at 2, but if he draws that's pretty good.
That increases the clock substantially.
Absolutely. That's a great draw.
How does Petrified Field work again? Like, he has to play it, then sack, and then his next land drop is the Bazaar again?
Correct. It sets them back a turn. It doesn't put the Bazaar directly in play, so you have to use a land drop on the Petrified Field. Then you use the ability of the Petrified Field, and then you have to use it the following turn to retrieve the Bazaar.
I mean, it's pretty nice to have it, but yeah, that's going to take him a lot of time.
And just having the Bazaar is not going to give him immediate board presence.
I think you just go with the Revoker first, right?
Yeah.
I think that does the most damage.
I think so. Yeah. Because the Arcbound Ravager's power and toughness is always effectively however many artifacts you have in play when it's there.
I mean, if you cast Hangerback for 1 now, that doesn't really do anything either. Then next turn you can play one of the other guys and charge up Hangerback. Seems more effective to cast Revoker first and then next turn cast the Hangerback for 2.
I agree with you, although I haven't been in that position firsthand. There may be people who have played shops and can attest to what the the best way to get in damage over time is.
I
I
mean,
would just play the Revoker, but
both of us kind of avoid playing shops, right? Have you played shops in a big tournament, or?
I played it in the finals of the Mana Drain Vintage League, which was a small. It was a Mana Drain, the website, the Mana Drain,
I'm
a
there.
league which was modeled after the Vintage Super League, and I did play shops twice, I think, in the finals. I won season one, and then I won season two. Um, and then I retired because I was invited into the Vintage Super League, and you can only have so many competing demands on time in this
Is that
modern.
being broadcasted too, or is that?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think Josh Patusek won the most recent season, but I'm not entirely sure.
So I mean, this seems like, I mean, I don't know. Like it feels like the Revoker would have been better. Now he just keeps charging up hanger back, but
See, what's
still
interesting
pretty.
is that David can also control the bridges because since Randy is not going to have the luxury of creating the tokens when he wants to by firing off Cabal Therapy due to the Trinisphere, David can sacrifice creatures to the Arcbound Ravager or the Ravager itself, which will remove the bridges from below from the graveyard.
And there's two in the graveyard already. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty annoying for Randy, actually.
Yeah, although Randy's graveyard is starting to get pretty stacked. There's two bridges I see in Icarid.
He doesn't have a good dredger though. I mean, he's got the Stinkweed imps, but there's no troll yet.
They're not too different. Like if there were a blue draw spell that said draw 5 cards for 0, and then one that said draw 6 cards for 0, I think they'd both be playable.
I guess at the end of the day, the difference is not that big. Yeah.
They'd be almost equivalent, but you're right. The Grave Troll is creates a more robust graveyard, especially when that difference between 5 and 6 is actually a difference between 15 and 18 if you're dredging very thoroughly with your Bazaar.
It's kind of dangerous. Like if he hits the third bridge now, that's actually pretty bad for him, right? I mean,
he would.
David gets to remove 3 of the 4 bridges. It's not best
right
scenario.
and still generate value while doing it because of the Hangerback Walker. Huh.
And now he can cast Tangle Wire and Revoker and charge up Hangerback. It's not bad.
Right.
And then Tangle Wire forces him to do his Bazaar in his upkeep, which is pretty annoying, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this looks like Dave might actually be pulling out game 1. And then he's got the 7 card sideboard.
Yeah, and I think some of I looked at his sideboard, and some of the other cards had fringe applications against Dredge. There was a Crucible, a Ratchet Bomb. A Ratchet Bomb is good to clean up the table when the mess gets out of control.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, I would think that David's #1 fan is pretty excited right now.
Yeah, this is...
Which would obviously be Stephen Menendian, because he really needs Randy to lose. No malicious intent or anything, but...
I am the one person that lost to him.
To Stephen?
Yeah.
I mean... to be fair, he should have had at least one more win against Randy, and then I think the match against me, he was also pretty unlucky. Don't remember it exactly, but I do remember that that didn't go so well for him. So now we're using...
He played a Storm deck, and it was metagamed against my Esper Mentor deck heavily. and it was slightly favorable in that matchup for him, and I drew poorly, and he won, and and so he's 1-6 because he decided to go after me.
Well, you found his target, and he got that right.
Yep, congratulations. I'm kidding.
So accurate coming back. I mean, this. Oh, he didn't play the Tangle Wire. Wow. Why wouldn't you play that? That has like 0 disadvantage to not play it, right? No advantage, I mean.
It is possible. See, David's a really good shot player. That's why where you and I thought, oh, he should play the Revoker first. He played the Hanger back first, and I thought, well, maybe there's something intelligent going on behind it. Maybe he's anticipating that the board can get a little bit cluttered, and so he wants to extract maximum value from the Tangle Wire. Like if there is a Narcomoeba that enters the battlefield or another Bloodghast, he can tangle them up next turn and get 4 permanents tapped. And additionally, it saves him a little bit of life loss from not having to use the Ancient Tombs that would damage him.
Well, that's the first Necromoeba. And the Accurate is in play. But the third bridge didn't hit the graveyard.
Yeah. Now, David has 2 options right now, I think. Maybe more to get rid of. No, he can get rid of all the bridges because he can sacrifice the Hangerback Walker, and that will get rid of 2 of them. And then he'll have 3 Thopters, and he can sacrifice. I think he can sacrifice them to the Ravager to get rid of the bridges.
Yeah. I mean, bridge does trigger on tokens, I think.
For the opponent, but not for the person controlling it.
Whenever a non-token creature is put into your graveyard from the battlefield. Oh, yeah. Whenever a creature is put into an opponent's graveyard from the battlefield, exile it. So, yeah. Any creature, including tokens. But, like, the problem is for David, like, it's not a gigantic problem, I guess, but the fastest way he could build up the clock is to sacrifice to build, like, 1 big flyer with the Ravager. But I guess he can't do that. Just needs to keep the Ravager around to control bridges.
Yeah.
He would probably just sacrifice the Revoker now, right? I don't think the damage is surely not resolving.
I don't.
Yeah, he's just that's fine. I mean, the 2/1 ground creature's not doing anything anymore, and that kills the first 2 bridges. And I think he wants to charge the Hangerback Walker up more. Like, I don't think he wants to sacrifice it on 3.
I think you're right, Kai.
If that Trinisphere wasn't there, Randy would win this game pretty easily.
The Trinisphere is great. I like Sphere of Resistance effects against Dredge because they really do. They are pretty greedy. They really want to cast a lot of spells, and Cabal Therapy is so deleterious when it happens. I mean, I feel very violated. I feel like I'm going to lose the game after I'm Cabal Therapy. It's awful. It's just awful.
Especially when they hit with the first. That's always the worst. Like if they cast it and hit with the first, you're just like, come on, man. It's not great. Real.
Yeah. It's hard enough to draw 7 cards that are going to get there. And then when you finally do, and you're like, all right, this is a functional hand. And then they start getting plucked away. Then things get hairy and rocky.
Does David now have to, like, is he forced to sacrifice a Hangerback Walker? Because if he lets that die, the bridge will trigger. Yeah, I guess it doesn't matter that much, does it?
You mean whether he wants the Icarud to die too?
Oh, the Icarud is the Revoker was sacrificed before damage. But now I think he's deciding whether he wants to sacrifice the Hangerback Walker before the Bloodghast dies. Like, I think we're after blocking before damage resolves. Yeah, he lets him get a token. Yeah, I think that's fine. I mean, it's not going to lose to the 1/2/2.
Right. Oh.
Never mind. No.
Yeah.
He's now actually killing it. Yeah, I mean, it's only one bridge left, and there's 15 cards in Randy's library. I mean,
the Hangerback Walker is great there.
yeah. And the Ravager, the Ravager was also awesome in this game.
Yeah.
Also now, I mean, I still think he should have cast that Tanglewire, so it's just not doing anything anymore now.
Well, I think it'll still.
That's probably a good card.
It's doing things. I mean, he can waste the Barbarian Ring and then play the Tanglewire, and Randy either taps 4 creatures or taps 4 creatures and.
Yeah. Do you even waste the Bazaar anymore now? I mean, I guess it's almost pointless to waste the Bazaar, isn't it?
Let's see how many dredges. I think so.
I mean, he's got 15 cards left in his library. It's not like he can. Like, he's very limited to the amount of dredging he can do in this game.
Exactly.
He doesn't have any. Yeah, he has no main deck removals for the Journey Sphere. Which I guess he couldn't cast that anyway. Yeah, I think it's probably correct to waste the Barbarian Ring. You're right. Mm-hmm. Then Randy just has to win. I mean, I guess he can win just with Icorids and Bloodguests, I guess. I mean, that works. It's going to be all 4 Icorids. Oh, 3 Icorids next turn. It's a lot of damage.
Yeah. Let's see how many black creatures he has in the graveyard. I see that there's an imp, an imp, an imp, Icarid, Icarid, Icarid.
And there's a Dragonlord Cologarn. And yeah, that's probably it.
The Dragonlord is probably going to be in the graveyard or exiled all game. He won't be making an appearance here, which is unfortunate because dragons are dragons make good television.
I think David is just fine with that guy staying in the graveyard. Does it matter if you play Flamekin Zealot or that guy? It's just the same thing, probably, right?
They have pluses and minuses. The Flamekin Zealot, its ability only happens the turn it comes into play. So it grants your creatures a 1/1 bonus, and they get haste. The Dragonlord gives the creatures haste at all times, although it doesn't give them the +1/+1 bonus. But if for some reason you aren't able to execute lethal in 1 turn, the Dragonlord is probably better. And the Dragonlord is also better against moat effects. And it's also...
that's a good point.
Which they started to see play last year. People were using them against Mentors and Pyromancer, but they've gotten even more popular because of the Eldrazi.
Yeah, I was playing a blue-white deck, close to the stencil deck, and I had Enlightened Tutor, and I had the mode. I mean,
I remember that deck.
No, yeah, David can't really attack anymore. Yeah, I mean, I guess he just has to sit out these Icorids, but I'm not sure he can.
Well, all right.
I'm a bit surprised that he doesn't use a Wasteland, though. That seems really strange, because he just wants the Tanglewire to tap 1 more creature, I think. Like, why give Randy the choice? I mean...
There's probably some intelligence behind that. I'm thinking that he's anticipating he might draw a Triskelion or another Hangerback Walker, and maybe he's going to want that Wasteland around to generate the maximum amount of mana for the Hangerback Walker, or to minimize the amount of damage he has to take from Ancient Tombs in case he finds himself wanting to play Triskelion. Or
yeah, I mean, Triskelion would be an awesome draw step right now. I
mean, Triskelion is almost always an awesome draw.
Well, Steven died with a couple of them in his hand. I mean,
if you have the mana.
If you have the mana, yeah.
Right. The card is really good. It's like a reverse Ancestral Recall.
It's pretty funny how that... I mean, that was one of the first creatures they printed when the game was released. Mm-hmm. And I mean, mostly all of the creatures from back then are just unplayable because they're so bad compared to the to the new creatures. But that thing is somehow playable. Yeah, being able to shoot things right away when it comes into play.
Yeah, and I don't remember ever playing it in the 90s. It was junk rare.
Yeah, it wasn't worth anything.
Yeah, I don't remember anyone playing it, at least not where I was from. People played moat decks, the Disrupting Scepter and the JMD Tome, Mana Drains, but not Triskelion.
Was even a bit better with damage on the stack, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that thing had any trade value. I mean, it probably still doesn't have that much, but also I guess the original cards all are valuable by now. I probably have a couple of these guys sitting around somewhere. So now we're in the Tanglewire step, so probably Randy is looking at his library when Magic Online asks him to tap cards in his library.
Or his opponent's sideboard. I love that. I don't feel like tapping my volcanic island. Instead, I'll just tap your null rod and your ground cage in your sideboard.
In your sideboard, yeah. I mean, like, some bugs, you're just like, okay, this... You can easily see how that happened, but like, there's some bugs you just have no idea how this can possibly be a thing. That is very high on that list.
There's a Trinisphere bug too. If you play Force of Will while there's a Trinisphere in play, and you don't have 3 mana to pay the tax on it, the match will restart, and all of the spells that you play will vanish after they exit the
Nice going. Perfect. Yeah, I thought David was winning this, but yeah. Seems like casting Dread Return is not required. Just attacking with a bunch of Bloodghasts and Icorids. I mean, he's probably running out of food for the Icorids pretty soon.
Yeah, David's not out of the game. And his Ravager is 4/4, so his Ravager can chump, block, and Icarid all day long.
Well, he does. Well, the problem is that he gets zombies, right? There's at least one bridge again. So if he kills stuff, he's gonna die to an angry horde of zombies.
He could use a Thopter to block an Icarid and then sacrifice the Thopter to destroy the bridge. So it'll save him some damage and it'll get rid of the bridges. That's probably what he wants to do with at least one of the Icarids.
But trading off these Necromebius, that seems just... I mean, they're just getting replaced by 2/2s. I mean, I guess he could sacrifice one of his Thopters before combat and then kill the bridge like that, and then trade off some others. Randy has no way to get a bridge into his graveyard at instant speed right now. So.
Oh.
Oh yeah, I mean, killing the Bloodghast is probably also... I mean, I guess he just counted the lands in Randy's graveyard and just assumes that he doesn't have anymore.
I do appreciate the logic behind wanting to get rid of the Narcomoebas, because if David starts to draw respectably, he can get to a point where he'll be low on life, but he might have a stalemate on board, and the Narcomoebas flying over that would just be the death knell.
Well, he does have this. I guess the tokens are dying now. Yeah, I mean, I think David staying in this game means he either has to draw more Hangerback Walkers or Triskelions. And if he does that, he probably doesn't lose to Necromebius. I think he just has to hope that he can somehow grind Randy out of resources. I mean, he can't win now, I don't think. Like, even if he draws a Hangerback, he can cast a Hangerback for 4, which can buff his Ravager 5 times, and then he attacks for 11, but that doesn't do anything.
He can't win on this turn.
Yeah. And he can still get Icorids back next turn by removing other Icorids. So, yeah, it's probably Triskelion or Hangerback Walker or Bust right now. But yeah, that's why he didn't sacrifice a Wasteland, because now he's going to tap Trinisphere, Tangle Wire, and 1 Ancient Tomb for the Tangle Wire, and then he has exactly 6 mana left for Triskelion. So if he uses a Wasteland, he can't draw a 6-drop. Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah, that's probably a good play, actually. Yeah,
nice. There's the Hangerback Walker.
Yeah, well done, David. That was a really good play to sacrifice that Tangle Wire.
So does he set it to... Can he go down to 5 life and make the Hangerback a 4/4?
I mean, I don't... Like, tapping an Ancient Tomb gets you another blocker. And there's multiple attackers that do 2 or 3 damage, so it doesn't matter, I don't think. Like, he should be casting it for full. He might still be dead, but saving the life doesn't help him much. Like, if he goes to 5 and then sacrifices the Hangerback right away, attacks for 8, puts Randy at 11, and then Randy gets what? 2 Icarids back?
Yeah.
It's a lot of creatures that are attacking. He gets 4 blockers from the Hangerback tokens. It's not enough. I think he's just dead, if I got this correctly. Like, Randy can also put another black creature in the graveyard with the Golgari Suck.
And every time a Bloodghast dies, that becomes future food for the Icarid.
Yeah.
This is interesting, because that is one of the best draws. I mean, if he drew like a Thought-Knot Seer or something, we would just say, oh, it's over. Let's go to game 2. But
I still think it's not good enough. Probably just nothing is good enough. Like,
now, he may have been in similar situations before. Rich Shea said that when you go to a tournament, you want your information in your head to be muscle memory. You want it to be second nature, because you don't want to find yourself in these situations trying to do differential equations on the spot.
yeah, I mean...
So you want to practice so that things like this, you've been in this situation before, you know, you have some sort of formula or a shortcut in your brain so you can figure it out. And I wonder if David has been in a similar situation where he's at an advantage, where he knows if you have a Hangerback Walker and there are this many dredge creatures, you set it to X.
This is a pretty special situation. I mean, David does play Vintage, but I don't think he plays enough to be in a similar situation to that. But yeah, like what you and Rich say is completely right. I mean, like all the good Magic players that constantly do well on PT level, they all play so much that they've always seen similar situations, and they never start at 0. Like, they always have like something to compare it to.
Yeah. Like, if my opponent plays Gush, I just want to throw in the towel.
Right. We're done. That's it.
I like Gush.
It has 2 cards.
Yeah. All right, so the Walker is set to 4.
I think Dave came to the same conclusion that he can't attack. Or, he can't attack. And I think if Randy hits 2 black creatures, he should have lethal. Yeah, he's going to dredge. Land would also be pretty nice, actually. Drawing the bridge.
So the bridge is probably not going to do anything, because anytime a zombie would come into play, the Hangerback is going to be sacrificed. I wonder if he's thinking about keeping the bridge in his hand.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's supposed to keep the bridge in his hand. Like, the Hangerback has to be sacrificed before blockers actually resolve. So there's no reason to discard that bridge right now. I mean, it just doesn't do anything. But you can't get decked with dredge, right? Like, as long as there's a dredge creature, you're not going to lose to no cards in his library.
No, I think you do lose if you have to draw a card and you can't.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's fair. It's a replacement effect, so yeah. I wonder if Magic Online knows that, though.
What do you think?
Probably, but not above 80%. I mean, that's such a special case. I mean, but that should be it, right? I mean, that's just too much. Like,
well,
if he
let's see.
sacrifices, he gets 5 blockers, so he blocks 3 Icorids and 2 Bloodghasts, and takes 5 damage from 3 Necromebius and 1 Bloodghast.
Right.
So I don't really see why.
Randy could misclick. Maybe that.
Yeah, but in this case, you right-click attack with all, which Randy apparently isn't aware of. But what? I was wondering why those Necromebius were staying back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that has to be it, right? He blocks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Don't think we have enough blockers. Very big angry Arcborn Ravager, but
yeah, it's such a valiant effort by David.
Yeah, it looked really good for a while, but yeah, I mean, if you can't interact with your opponent's graveyard, it's just. And that's exactly 5. Although, I mean, to be fair, I think he's such a big underdog in the first game, so.
Yeah. All right, so.
Oh, yeah, and Ifro actually told me right now that Trinisphere is turned off when you tap it. So that's why he had to sacrifice a Tanglewire too. I wasn't aware of that. Like, he definitely had to sacrifice a Tanglewire then, because he can't turn off the Trinisphere.
It's like the Howling Mine in the Winter Orb from the days of yore.
Yeah, Icy Manipulator. So now, I mean, Randy at least knows that he's fighting against all this hate, but Tormod's Crypt is a pretty annoying hate card to play against. Disenchanting that
very much.
Not that great.
Yeah, you're right. Exactly. I like Tormod's Crypt.
He's keeping in the Leylands for the Hangerback Walkers? Wow.
That is going deep.
But he has to cut some dredge cards then, right? Like this. My initial thought was that he would just cut his Leylands, but if he keeps in 3 of the Leylands and he keeps in 4 Cabal Therapy, I guess he has mental missteps to board out. So he boards out 3 mental missteps for 4 Ingot Chewers and 2 Nature's Claims, so he needs 3 more cards, so he just probably boarded out like 1 Golgari Suck and stuff like that.
Leyline of the Void is pretty good against Ravager Shops. I know people that tested Ravager Shops against Dredge, and I vaguely remember hearing about Leyline, but I don't remember if the conclusion was to keep it in post-sideboard.
Yeah, I mean, anything that gets cast before they can cast the stupid sphere effect is always kind of nice. Even if it doesn't have the biggest effect, it's something you have in play.
Yeah, you're right.
That is rough. I mean, 2 cages and a Trinisphere, but he has to mulligan it.
Does he?
I mean, I guess maybe not. Like, maybe you're supposed to keep that. I mean, 2 cages is such a big deal. Yeah, I mean, he's got 30 mana sources in his deck. I'm with you. I think I keep. I think
the only card you really want to draw Tormod's Crypt in Grafdigger's Cage turn 1, and
he's got that, yeah. And I mean, the wasteland is also fine. Like, wasting a Bazaar is pretty good play.
Yeah. Or the 5-color land if you can get 2 cages down, because then you minimize our chances of getting rid of the cages.
Yeah, I think I keep that. It's a good point. Wow, both players kept? Oh, I didn't see the Bazaar in Randy's hand. I thought there was none.
Now, if David draws a workshop, that would be excellent because he can play the second cage and then the Trinisphere, and then the cages become diamonds. They're like forever.
But Randy has it all covered, actually. He just drew Ingochur. He has Nature's Claim. Start with the Bazaar.
Wow. That's really greedy because if David... okay. Well, let's still buy some time. If David draws an Ancient Tomb or a Workshop, throwing down the Trinisphere will ensure that the Dredge Hate stays around.
How does Ingochur work with Trinisphere? Does that circumvent that, or...?
No, it doesn't.
Still 3?
Yeah. Like, Delve will circumvent it because Delve is like Phyrexian mana. It's like it's part of the mana cost. But the Evoke cost for Ingochur is red. It's not... It's just like any other spell that would cost red. Like a light bulb. You still have to pay 3.
Yeah, and I mean, paying 3 is probably... I mean, I guess he has double mana Confluence, so maybe he can get up to 3. Yeah, I was actually looking at the Bazaar. I was listening to Cedric Phillips' podcast the other day, and they did a random trivia question to name lands that don't tap for mana. I was not aware there's so many lands in this game that don't tap for mana. I came up with like 5 or 6, and I was like, yeah, that's probably it, right? And then they just kept on going. So much stuff. I mean, a lot of them from back then, from the Bazaar times, like the Dark and stuff. I mean, almost all of them are unplayable, but Bazaar made it.
Like
I think like 20. No, not that many. Like 20 or 25 or something.
Well,
that was way more than I expected.
How many that's lands in the entire game that don't tap for mana, and there's only...
I mean, they don't do that anymore. Like any land that they printed in the last probably 10 years also taps for mana. I mean, they did print like Eye of Ugin, but that reduces mana cost. But like lands like Tabernacle or Bazaar, fetch lands didn't count.
Oh, they didn't count fetch lands. All right, that's why I was thinking you'd start off with 15 or 20 or 25 because they also have those fetch lands that we don't know about because we never play them, like the ones that only get a basic land or the ones that come into play tapped.
Those were all around. No. Just like purely gimmicky lands like Glacial Chasm, Tabernacle of Pendule Vale. There's like way more than I thought of these lands. Alright, no. Yeah, I mean, David missing another land drop. I mean, Randy just has all the hate he needs, I guess. I mean, he needs one more card to deal with that stuff. But then the Bazaar can fight through Tormod Script, surely, right? Like, if David doesn't actually do anything, surely the Bazaar just... Like, eventually he has to crypt and then he just restocks his graveyard.
Yeah. It can. You can usually... The Dredge player can usually get through one crypting. I mean, it depends on things like whether they Serum Powdered and got rid of a lot of their deck in the process.
Yeah, but Randy didn't even mulligan at all, so... Did he? No, there's 14 cards exiled, so he did Serum Power, I guess. Let me see if I can find the game on Magic Online. Oh yeah, he used Serum Power and he removed one Ingochur. That's about it. Like just a couple of Icorids, Cabal Therapy. It's not that bad. One of his Ingochurs is gone.
So he'll Ingochur the cage. And then he'll get a token from the bridge.
I think like especially now that he has 2 Bazaars, like, and David doesn't have lands, I would just kill the cage and just force David to use the crypt and then try to win with the 2 Bazaars afterwards. It should be doable, really. I don't think there was a single bridge exiled. Yeah, there was no bridge in the 14 exile cards.
if David draws some land, he has ways to deal with bridges themselves. Not the most efficient ways, not a Ravager, but if there's an emergency, you can always metamorph something.
Well, he can always hang it back for 0 if he wants to kill existing bridges in the graveyard. That works.
Yeah.
But, now we have to use a wasteland. I think that's fair. He just does that right now because he wants to prevent Necromebius from coming into play, I guess. As long as the cage is still in play.
Yeah.
Oh, he doesn't even use it. Wow. Yeah, I mean, maybe Randy is like worried about his library size. Doesn't want to dredge too much. That 2/2 might actually do it.
Yeah, you're right.
12
or
turns.
might not.
Yeah, we really need a workshop over there. Probably draws the Soul Ring now that he used his Wasteland.
That would be harsh.
Or Triskel, yeah. Also a pretty good card, but I mean, that's what you get for using the new artwork, though. I mean, it's justified. Yeah, if your opponent doesn't do anything, Dredge is a pretty good deck.
A lot of decks are. If your opponent is mad, it's screwed.
Most of them are, yeah. It's probably not good enough to use your Tormod script, right? I mean, even the Blood Gas is just gonna kill you if you let it come into play. But the thing is, if you use script now, you just know that you're losing, right?
You suspect that.
And maybe he has to use it, but if he uses it now, the Bazaar will fill the graveyard so fast.
David needs deck fading right now.
Yeah, there we go. I'm afraid that is not a winning play. I mean, maybe just Randy doesn't hit a dredge card for a while. He doesn't have that many in his deck, to be fair. Like, he boarded out some of them, and this... There's only one Golgari Grave Troll in his exile zone. He should be able to find something. Well, he didn't find anything now.
So get rid of the bridge, the Bloodghast, and the Dragon Lord. And then he'll play the Petrified Field, I guess, and it will bring the Bloodghast back.
I mean, just getting 4 power into play is pretty good right now.
And I don't think David made a mistake keeping that hand, though, because it was... Everything else in it is really cheap. Like, it's very operational if it just draws one land.
No, I think you're totally right. Like, I think that was a keep. Also, I mean, his deck does have 30 mana sources. I mean, he didn't have, like, with this hand, he didn't have to draw mana right away. But I mean, now we are in like turn 5 or something.
Something.
I mean, now it's David's turn 5. I mean, that's just a few too many land drops missed. But I mean, he's got 7 sideboard cards. He drew 3 of them. Like, if he only drew 1 sideboard card, Randy would have won this game already.
Right.
Very easily.
Yes.
So, I think I was correct to keep. But now I'm pretty sure this is academic from here. It's 2 more dredges. There's probably a chance that David doesn't get a turn, maybe. He probably does, but...
Hmm.
I mean, he could have just used the petrified field to get another bazaar, right?
If he wanted to, although he only has about 3 more dredges left. I don't know if he needs to rush.
What did you name here? I mean, it doesn't matter that much, I guess.
Hangerback Walker.
Yeah, I would name Hangerback or Ravager. One of the two. That's like the only cards I really care. Yeah, he named Ravager. That's fine. Hangerback might be a bit better because he actually has 3 bridges in his graveyard. So Hangerback for 0 is going to kill all his bridges. Yeah, I think Hangerback would have been the correct choice. Yeah, like now Hangerback for 0 means that Randy has no bridges left in his deck because 1 is already exiled. But then David won't be able to capitalize anyway, so...
At this point, getting rid of the bridges doesn't get rid of 8 powers of zombies, unfortunately. He would have to draw Ratchet Bomb and mana and something.
This seems weird. Like, if that's Randy's plan, I'm pretty sure he should have done that pre-combat. Like, surely there's a combination of cards that he could have found to just win that turn. Unless something is removed that I'm not aware of.
The Dread Return. Sometimes people take out Dread Return packages.
Yeah. Well, there's 1 Dread Return exiled, so yeah, maybe he just doesn't have a Dread Return anymore. That would explain why.
Why he might have to pass the turn.
Yeah. I mean, again, if you create a couple more zombies, it shouldn't matter. Like, that's the same with the blue decks. Like, these vintage decks are really bad at coming back from very unfavorable board positions. Like, if you play standard or modern, like most of the decks have like sweepers or something, and you actually can come back. But that's not how vintage works, really.
No, a blue deck in theory can come back from things if it has the Yawgmoth's Will. Sometimes they can just vault key out of nowhere, but when shops or dredge fall behind, or hate bears, or merfolk.
Good old merfolk.
Yeah.
And we're up to 7 zombies. Yeah. Now Hangerback Walkers are gone. Yeah, let's look at what the third match today is.
I think it's Paul and Rich.
We're back to the Blue Mirrors.
Yeah, but they're at least nominally different decks. Rich is playing Grixis Therapy, which is similar to my deck, although I cut a little bit of Disruption for a little bit more card draw, just because, I'm a nicer person. Like, I would rather edify myself rather than tear someone else down. I believe in the golden rule. So
I think that's even more of a mirror match than our match was, because like you had more fancy stuff, and I think both these decks are just pyromancer cantrip decks. There's no gutter snipes or Jory ends or
that gutter snipe is really good. Like,
yeah, I mean, it was just like a mentor turn 1. I mean, I think I had to force it. Like, I thought about it, but I didn't have a source right now, and I figured if I let that live, then yeah.
It's useful for killing people really quickly when you don't have access to Time Walk, because sometimes you end up in positions versus like Oath Druid, Storm, maybe someone plays Tezzeret. Like, if someone who's really going to kill you with a vintage win condition, you can get them with Gutter Snuff. I've done it a lot. That's why he's in there.
And Jackman as well, I suppose. If you can flash back a couple of probes and stuff.
Yeah, I love Probe with Yawgmoth's Will. It's so worth it.
Either way, I think we have to ship it now. So the next match will be Paul against Rich, and the casters are going to be Louis and Eric, in preparation of the 4th match, which is going to be Louis and Eric.
Yeah, they're both 4-3. They both have excellent records throughout the league. They've both been here since the beginning. They're both very successful, so it's quite an epic match that we have coming up with those two.
I mean, if Louis wins it, I think that puts Eric in danger of missing the playoffs for the first time, which is kind of ridiculous, but I think he's made the playoffs every single time. And I mean, even if he loses this, he can still make it by winning his last match. So
he's a good player. I was watching in Season 1 and Season 2, and he was always right on the money. It was like, wow, well done. So
it's not only that he plays well, he's also been very good at guessing what his opponents are playing. Like, he's usually been pretty much spot on with figuring out what's going on.
Yeah. That's true.
All right. I think we are ready for the next match then. So see you next week, Brian.
All right, I will see you in 3 weeks.
Oh, actually. In 3 weeks, yeah.
But it was nice co-commenting with you from across the Atlantic or across the Pacific if we wanted to go the long way.
I'm actually in the Caribbean, so I'm not that.
Oh, you're in the Caribbean. I thought you were in Germany.
No. I'm living in the Caribbean for 2 years now.
I did not know that.
Otherwise, I would not be playing at this. Like when I was in Germany, I wasn't playing at this. I mean, like I have a day job, and I mean, I can't play Vintage at 3 a.m. and then work at 8 a.m. on the next day. That's right. Crazy, but not that crazy.
12, 1 a.m. every now and then you can do it, but 4 or 5, etc. That would be too much. Well, I didn't know you were in the Caribbean, so we're in the same time zone.
Yep,
that's great.
Yep.
Well, you enjoy the rest of your night. Thanks for tuning in. We got 3 more matches.